Hi, this video is for user on YouTube dsan89dk. I hope I got that correct. If I didn't, I apologize. I'm going to be looking at two aspects in two separate videos. This first video is for a question he asked about starting a cart track, like a mine track or a roller coaster, using redstone and switches rather than having to manually start the track all the time. And he was referring to one of my roller coaster videos, which you can find both of those linked in the underbox. So there's a few tools you're going to need right away, and I'm just going over how to make a redstone torch there with redstone top and sticks bottom. You're going to need redstone torches. You're going to need a shovel. I'm using a diamond shovel. You're going to want switches or pallets, stone, not wood, and I'll explain why. Don't use a wood pallet or a wood switch, and it's useless in this case. You're going to want track, however much you feel is necessary. I'm not even going to be using 64, so I'm just going to tuck the rest of it up there. You'll need a building material as well if you want torches or anything like that. It's bonus. And you need at least 3 carts. And you'll want a building material. I recommend dirt. It's the easiest to fix any errors with and to mold and move if you need to. So I would use dirt. If I was you, you can use really whatever you want. So I think that's really everything that you're going to need for supplies. So we can go ahead and get started then. Now, what I'm going to be showing you guys here today is a very, very simple booster system. It takes up a little bit more space than some of the curved booster systems or looping booster systems or anything like that, but I find that it's the most effective booster system, and I'll explain why in a little bit. It has to do with lag in the game and things like that. So what you're going to need to do is build a hole, and it's going to need to be 3 blocks wide by at least 4 blocks long. I personally use 5 blocks long just to make sure that the track is boosting the cart properly every time and there's no glitches or anything that occur. And you're just going to want it to be an open hole, as you see I'm doing here. So it's 3 by at least 4, recommend 5. Now what you're going to want to do is in the middle of one side, at the very edge, build 1 block, just like you see here. And on the other side, not on the middle, but on the edges, build a block 1 block away from where you're working, as you see here. Now, this next part I'm going to do isn't necessary, but you can do it if you want to make sure that your cart is boosting properly. You can build a little bit of stand behind, just like this. Now, that's not necessary, and I'm going to end up removing it in this example, but I was just showing you that you can do it if you'd like to. Now, what you're going to do to lay your track, pull your track out, and start at the top of this side and on your bump there, and we're going to build all the way down into the hole, up, around the piece that we built on the edge, in a full loop, and all the way back we're going to go and we're going to connect it to the other side without touching the other track. We're going to just go right back to the top. Now we're going to delete the track out from here. It seems a little useless, but what we're doing is we're actually making it so we have that sharp slant without it ever going flat. If we were to just build the track up, it would go flat on that square below rather than slanting up. We're going to build a piece there, and what that's going to do is that's going to make it so the cart goes up, hits the block, and comes back down. That's all we're doing here because you can't build on top of existing track. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. And that's going to, again, make sure that at each side the cart goes up to the top, stops, and comes back down. So you can kind of see how the loop's already going to occur. What we're going to do here, though, is you can take out that piece of track there and build the block right there. You can do that on both sides. I'm going to pull out my shovel here just to make it a little quicker. I'm going to do that to both sides just to balance them out. Now, don't go any shorter than this. You don't want to stop right in the pit, because what will happen is that the cart won't loop properly and it will connect into the booster track when we build it. So I'll explain that a little bit more in a second here. So now we're going to do the booster track. You're just going to put this inside of the pit. It's not going to come out at any point, just like that. Nice straight track right there. Now the reason we didn't stop one earlier is here, when we build the booster track, it would have created a loop and connected to the track to its left or right, instead of just going straight, which would have been problematic when we went down to the actual cart's boosting. It would have looped into the booster track, and we don't want that. So we can remove this. You can see it's completely not necessary. It's just to prevent the booster track inside from sloping up. That's why we had to move the track 1 away, and that's the only reason that we built that brick there. So you don't need to build that brick, you can just build the track 1 away. Now we're going to go ahead and grab 2 carts here, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys the booster system in action. So we're going to build the first cart right against one of the edges. Doesn't matter which side, as long as the second cart is built on the same edge. We're going to build it at the highest point and let it fall in. You can see it loops, comes up, and hits the top and stops. Now the reason I'm using this booster system is because if you have a system that's just putting it in a steady loop, for example, if both sides were flat like the one side, the cart would reach its maximum speed possible in the game, but it would continue receiving boosts from the other cart, and eventually as the game tries to calculate it at its top speed, still receiving boosts, it can cause the game to crash. It's not guaranteed to, but it is a possibility. So I use this to stop it at the top of each boost just to prevent that. Slows the carts a little bit coming out of the gate, but it's really nothing to be worried about at all. So we're just going to go ahead and build the track here. Now this is the track that the booster cart's going to follow. That's going to be the part that switches when we hit the redstone. So we're just going to go ahead and build this out. This is going to be where the booster cart goes. So we don't want this to go along the track of whatever the player's supposed to be riding. We're going to build a loop, so we're just going to build a circle, delete out the edge close, or build a track piece in, delete out the edge closest, and rebuild it. And it's going to create a little circle like that. Now you don't have to do this. You can do a wider loop. So I'm going to do one right away here. Just a second here. And we're going to go ahead and just be able to, so you can see the cart comes in, loops, goes along the corner. We're going to just delete out these little pieces here, and what I'm going to do is build a wide loop. Now, I've already tested it, and the cart's going to come around and turn to the right rather than the left. It'll always be the same direction on any piece of track that's facing this direction. Any cart on any track that intersects in this manner will turn to the right or to the left. It'll always turn in the same direction. No matter which way it approaches from, it'll turn back towards that looping system. So it always turns north or it always turns west. I think it's north or west. But see, you can see I push this cart, it turns right, and it's going to go right into the booster system. Stop, stop, stop. No, no. Oh. So this is a little bit of a pain in the ass. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of these carts here. I'm just going to get rid of this second one and go ahead and restart the booster system. You don't have to restart it this way. You can restart it a lot easier. But I'll just go ahead and push that in there. So you can see mine turns right. Now, what sometimes happens is that when you push it in, you realize that it's turning left, and it's going to go forever in a loop in that little circle till it runs out of power and dies. Easy way to fix that, delete those three pieces there so that you have a straight turn, and now we're going to loop it in the other direction, but instead of touching it against the track flat like we did before, we're going to touch it against the corner on the track. So we're going to loop it in and touch it against right there. So what happens is when the cart comes to a corner on a piece of broken straight track, it will continue straight in the direction it was previously traveling. So it's going to go around that loop and continue on that corner straight. So those are lots of different options that you have for looping the cart. Just make sure that you understand kind of how the game is treating those loops. Now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start building the player's track, and we'll just put a piece of track down where we want the cart to start, just about where we want. And you know what, I think I'm going to move that one over, just to the right there, just to give it a little bit more starting space. Now, what's going to happen is the first piece before the track, we need to build our stone plate. Now, it's not a wood plate, it's a stone plate. The reason is that a stone plate requires more weight to be pressed, so an empty cart won't press a stone plate by itself, but a player in it. And well, actually, I'll just stop talking here for a second. For the most part, you can see when I put this on, push it on, you can hear that click when I get on and off. You can hear that click, but there's no click when just the cart is on it. So that's why we're using a stone plate, is so that we can have the cart sit there empty without opening the track. And then we, and actually no, I don't even need to delete that. I'm just going to put that back, sorry. When we've got a stone plate, it won't be pressed by an empty cart, whereas a wood plate is pressed by an empty cart, and so it would continue doing the system without a rider on it. We use the stone plate because we wanted to check when someone gets on, not just to go infinitely. So that stone plate is going to act as a check. Is player on cart? If yes, start. If no, don't start, essentially. So I'm just going to build a little tower here. What I'm going to do is the player's cart, because we're just doing a demo track, is just going to go straight up this hill. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to stop it at a slant, and I'm going to build a new piece of dirt just to block it off. And so the player's cart's essentially just going to go up the hill and back down. Now what you need to do is behind your button, you need to place a piece of dirt, wood, rock, whatever you're using as your building material, so that when the cart comes and hits against that, it's going to stop on the button. Because if it doesn't, sometimes it can turn, come off the track, or not sit quite right, and then when the booster cart hits it, instead of going, it just spins. Oh, you stupid bloody cow. Damn it, there's animals everywhere. It's crazy. I don't even know what to do. Here's another way to restart the cart anyway. You can just push that over and just kind of shove that down the hill. And oh my god, there's just animals everywhere. Anyways, so that's going to stop the cart from going into a position where the booster cart's going to push it off to the side or get stuck on it or anything like that. So now let's build our redstone wiring. I'm going to do it above the ground just to keep things nice and simple. So there is a glitch that can sometimes occur, so we're going to stop our carts. You'll want to do this as well. This doesn't always occur, but sometimes it does. When you place redstone, the first piece, let's see if it does it here. The first piece, you need to touch it against where that T corner is. Oh, it didn't change. So you need to touch it against where that T corner is, and the first piece sometimes switches it around, even though there's no power to it. If that happens, just put an inverter in. And I guess if you don't know what an inverter is, I'll show you here really quick. What you'll need is, I'm just going to get a wood plate so that I can show you by adding power to the system. So I'm just going to build a wood plate here. I'm going to put some redstone off of it. And now this is where a redstone torch would be needed, is if you need an inverter system. If you don't need the redstone torch. Just place a redstone torch on any of the three sides, not touching the redstone already coming into it. So I'm going to go like that, just like that. And now you can see the redstone coming off of this redstone torch is lit. Now if I step on the plate, it'll light up this redstone over here and hit that torch, which will turn it off, and then the redstone attached to it will be turned off. So if this is off, then this is on. If the stuff on the left is on, then the stuff on the right is off. So you can see when I step on the plate here, that over there will turn off, and when I get off, it turns back on. And so you can see it just reverses whatever command is given to the actual plate. So if it switches on you as soon as you place some redstone, just put an inverter in there to be constantly providing power until the player gets on, then it interrupts power, and that'll do the switch in the same way, just using reverse commands. So it's a little bit complicated, but it works, and it's a very simple system once you kind of get to understand it. Now we're going to go ahead, our system is technically ready, believe it or not. We can run it. I'm going to go ahead and just place the cart on here. You can see again the stone doesn't set it off, isn't set off by the cart because the cart's not heavy enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get in, and the cart making the long loop there is going to come out, push me, loop on its track, send me up my track, and we're both going to come back. And hopefully I didn't place it so that the timing works out in the manner that we hit each other, because that would suck. But let's go ahead and just give this a little bit of a test. I'm going to go ahead and climb into the cart here. Just, whoop, in we go, and it's going to come out and push. Up the hill we go, and the timing worked. So I'm going to get out before it comes back around. And you can see the switch turns back off and it continues looping. And so you can see that that worked perfectly. So, you know, you looped, it worked, it was all good. The cart came over, it looped, the timing was perfect. Yeah, so that's pretty much how you do the basic switch to get your cart to start up for your players. And we'll get into a little bit more in the next video. I'll talk about actually using the redstone to switch the tracks instead of just using it as a starter, so that when we actually have a player going on the track, it'll actually turn them in a particular direction or whatever you need to do. And we'll get into that. That uses a little bit more complicated redstone maneuvering, I guess.